Hello children. Today we will begin with a poem in English, Unit 1.3, Have You Ever Seen? And the poet of this poem is anonymous, which means the poet is not known. So children, this is an interesting and funny poem where the poet has asked many questions not to get answers but to emphasize on the facts. So children, before understanding the poem, there are some concepts which you need to understand. This concept will help you to understand the poem in a better way. Let's start with the concept. The first one is homographs. Homo means same and graph means to write. So children, homographs are words with same spelling but different in meaning. Like you can see on your screen, the first one, that is watch. One is to see something and another one is the watch on your wrist. The second example is bow or bow. One is the bow which you tie onto your collar, and the second one is a bow or a bend to respect somebody. The next concept is pun. So children, what is pun? When words with same spelling or pronunciation are used in such a way that they convey more than one meaning. The figure of speech involved is called pun. Yes, children, it is a type of figure of speech. A pun is a play upon words. Example, why are teddy bears never hungry? Because they are stuffed. So children, this sentence is meant to be a humor. So children, pun is a figure of speech and the whole poem revolves around these figures of speech. With this, there is another figure of speech, that is interrogation, in which questions are asked, not to get answers, but just to understand the fact. So children, now let's start with the poem. Let us first read the poem together. Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed, or a single hair from a hammer's head? Has the foot of a mountain any toes? And is there a pair of garden hose? Does the needle ever wink its eye? Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol, or open the trunk of a tree at all? Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? And what is the sound of the bird's bark? So children, if you look at the three stanzas, the rhyme scheme of this poem is A, A, B, B. Like if you see the rhyming words like bed, head, so it becomes A, A, toes, hose, that becomes B, B. So as you go on with the lines or with the rhyming words, the rhyming scheme is A, A, B, B. So children, now I will explain each lines from the poem. The first line is, have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? So children, here the pun used is the riverbed. So the poet is asking that, have we ever seen a bed sheet on the riverbed? So the answer is no. How can we put a bed sheet on the riverbed, right? So the poet is asking that if there is no sheet, then why do we call it a riverbed? A riverbed is the bottom of the river. So children, let's go to the second line. Or a single hair from a hammer's head. Children, in this line, hair for a hammer's head is a pun. The top of a hammer is called the hammer's head. And the poet is funnily asking that why there is no hair on the hammer's head. Next one. Has the foot of a mountain any toes? Here, the foot of a mountain means the base of the mountain, which has no relation to the human foot, and hence it does not have toes like the human foot. And is there a pair of garden hose? The poet here further refers to a garden hose, which is a flexible tube used to water plants, that he compares to its homograph hose, which means a pair of stockings or socks. He is asking that, have we ever seen a pair of garden hose? Let's move on to another one. Does the needle ever wink its eye? Here the poet refers to the needle's eye, which means the hole in the needle from where we put the thread. And he tells us that does it wink like a human eye? Here wink means to close and open one's eye quickly. Next one. Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Here, the wings of a building means a part of a building is being compared to the wings of a bird. The poet says that just like the wings of a bird help them to fly, the wings of the building should also help them to fly. This is what the poet wants to tell. Let's go to the next one. Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? Here, parasol means umbrella. Here, the poet is comparing the ribs of an umbrella to the ribs of human body, which can tickle. The poet is asking that can we tickle the ribs of an umbrella? The next one, or open the trunk of a tree at all. Here the poet is talking about the trunk of a tree and the other trunk, which is a large wooden box for storing clothes, and open like a trunk box. Next one. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Here, rake means an agricultural implement with teeth for gathering cut grass. So, the poet has made reference to the teeth of a rake, which he compares to human teeth, and he questions whether they can bite like humans do. Next one. Have the hands of a clock any left and right? The poet is asking if the hands of the clock, that is a wall clock, are having right and left like the human hands. So children, hands of the clock are the ones which show hours and minutes. Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Here the homograph used is plot. One plot means a piece of land, and the other meaning is an evil and wicked plan. So the poet asks if the garden's plot is having some wicked plan or no. And what is the sound of the bird's bark? Here, birch means a type of a tree. So finally, the poet questions whether the bark of a birch tree can make a sound like the bark of a dog. So children, wasn't it an amazing poem? The poet has made use of amusing puns to bring about two meanings of one words. So children, I hope you understood the poem. Let's have some quick revision. The first question is, according to the poet, who cannot fly in spite of having wings? According to the poet, a building cannot fly in spite of having wings. Which part of the tree is mentioned in the second stanza? The trunk of the tree is mentioned in the second stanza. What is the central idea of the poem? The poet makes use of homographic puns in the poem to create humor with a play on words. So children, we conclude with our today's session. I hope you understood the poem. Thank you for listening, children. Take care.